he's not like none of the kids nowadays are like true freshmen coming in. They have time in the summer to gain knowledge of the offense, how things work, what it feels like to go to class, and work out and do all those things. The only thing they don't know is what it's going to be like on game day, sitting in the locker room with 5,000 people sitting in the stadium waiting for you to come out. And that's the part that he's going to have to grow up and understand.
I was going to say, what's the key to get freshmen like that ready? Like, historically, you guys don't redshirt players in the backfield, right?
Well, I don't know what we've done historically here, but if they can play, we're going to play them. That's the way we feel. This is Oklahoma. I mean, if you're good enough, you should be able to play in your freshman year. And, hopefully that, he's the same way. I feel like he can help us in a lot of areas. He's tough. He's physical. He's quick as a cat. He brings a different demeanor, a different asset to the backfield that we currently don't have, with size and quickness, and speed. He's kind of like a smaller version of Joe, but not the same assets as Joe have. Joe's a better receiver out of the backfield, but Abdul is quick and shifty, so he's got some things to him that I like that we don't have right there right now.
I wanted to follow up on what you said about your injury and how that kind of relates to Rodney. What happened with your injury?
Well, again, mine was more of a a final deal. I couldn't play ever again. Well, Rodney just can't play this year, and it happened right before. Just right around the same time, and so it was it helped me to understand him and what he was going through a little bit because I knew what he felt like at that time. But I let him know. I said, hey, man, at least you get to come back, You get to come back. I've been in a situation where I couldn't come back, and it was over with. So, I know it hurts right now, but you just got to keep pushing forward and know that, man, you got an opportunity to still play football.
How did he respond to that message?
Well, at the time, it was right when he found out. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's one of those things where, over time that might sink in with him. Mm-hmm. All I can do is put my arms around him at the time and hug him and because he was still feeling the pain of what he was going through at the time. I'm sure it was going in one ear and out the other, not really absorbing it at the time. But at least he heard it. He knew that I understood what he was going through.
What happened on the play on your injury?
Mine wasn't a play. Mine was an arrhythmia. I had an arrhythmia.
Okay.
Yeah, I had an arrhythmia. Okay. So mine wasn't a particular play where where it was. But again, it was the likeness was. I'm still walking around. I'm healthy. I can still run. I can still jump. I can still do everything. For a while there on Saturday when Rodney hurt himself, he thought he was still fine. He could still run. He could still do everything. Matter of fact, he told me, "Hey, coach, I'm fine. I can go back in." And then, before that series came up, bang. It's like the doctors came over to me or the trainer said, "Hey, look, Rodney's kind of stiffened up a little bit. He can't go." So I was thinking God that his turn didn't come back up before. He went back out there after he had been cleared initially, and then not.
What was the injury on his the official diagnosis?
You have to ask the trainer and doctors. I'm not that, So he's just got some kind of injury in his neck. So I mean, he'll be fine.
And who's his roommate?
Ooh, it's a good question. I can't remember off the top of my head. He lives off campus now, so he's changed roommates since the beginning. Yeah, thank you. Take care.
How did Joe and I'm Trevor, by the way.
Trevor.
Nice to meet you, Coach.
Nice to meet you.
How did Joe and Samaje take, losing Rodney again for the season?
Well, I mean, it was hard for our whole team, just to have one of your teammates go down, and know that they're going to be out for the whole season. I mean, I'm sure, I can't tell you how they felt, but I'm sure they were all, touched and just kind of like, wow, that could have happened to me. Everybody starts putting themselves in that situation. It's like when your first friend, in high school passes away, it's kind of like, wow, that could have happened to me, and it's just the reality check for everybody, realizing how short, this whole deal really is. It could be taken away from you at the instant. So I think they all felt that to some degree, but at the same time, they all put their arms around the kid and just loved him up and try to make him feel like, everything's going to be okay.
There's been talk about, I was reading today that Lincoln is kind of notorious for improvements in the offensive line in his second year. What does that make you feel for, the capabilities that your running backs are going to be able to have this year?
Well, we want to make improvements all over our whole offensive side of the ball, including the running back room. So, I don't really concern myself with the line and with the quarterbacks or anybody else is doing. All I'm concerning myself with is making sure that those running backs get better. And I think we have gotten better from the beginning of fall to the end of fall, from last spring to now. from last year to now. That's my goal.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.
Awesome.